My name is Mike Morrison. I run Morrison's Outdoor Adventures with my awesome wife here in the green sweatshirt, my oldest son and my youngest one there. So we do four-wheel drive training, recovery training, trip planning, guided trips, guided trail rides. If it's got to do with Overland, we probably have something to do with it along the line somewhere. I've been certified through the International Four-Wheel Drive Trainers Association for about 11 years. And we started our business about 2.5 years ago. We are very grateful that Cape Fear Customs was nice enough to bring us out and actually put one of their trailers on its side, which is pretty impressive in itself. Matt here, I'm gonna let him hop out for just a minute and kind of talk about the thought process behind their trailer.
Yeah, hey guys, thank you guys for coming out and checking out what we have going on. You know, we wanted to build a trailer that was pretty much indestructible. We know a lot of you guys like going on long distance trips and being able to get to remote places and set it up and keep going. So me and Mike were talking about what would be a good class and how to properly recover from a rollover scenario in an overlanding trailer. We thought would be a great topic. So I appreciate Mike and his family for coming out and working with us to set this up. And I'll give you the floor, Mike.
Awesome. But when we roll a trailer over off-road, right, regardless of how we roll it over, it slides sideways, catches a rock, dips off the trail, we make a bad decision as a driver, we really have to make sure the most important thing that we do when we stop the vehicle is we get out and we take a deep breath, right? Guys, we want to get it fixed as fast as we can, but don't let your adrenaline poisoning or your testosterone poisoning take over. When we go to approach the trailer, the most important thing, don't go running up to it, right? Use your senses right away to know that you can approach this safely. Chances are you might have some fuel on there that could be leaking. We have electrical components on there that could be sparking and arcing. The trailer may not be stable. So smell for gas, listen for hissing, look for smoke, and if all that seems safe, approach the trailer and put a hand on it, right? Put a hand on it to make sure that it's stable. If it's stable, you're good to go. If it's still kind of precarious, you may need to start thinking about securing this trailer, tying it down with a belay, having somebody hold it in place, some type of option to make sure it's secure while you do your rigging around it. This is also where I don't recommend storing your recovery gear in your trailer. As you can see now, if I had to crawl in there and get my recovery gear, it could be a problem, right? Trailer shifts, I'm inside of it. That's a bad thing. Normally that's where I store the kids, right? So, I'm joking. But we get our recovery gear out, then we can start thinking about riding this trailer, okay? Once we're past that aspect. But we get it rigged, we get it secured. Before we actually move that trailer, we have some other considerations to take into account. Number one, we want to inspect this trailer to make sure that when we ride it, it's still going to be okay. Or it's not going to accidentally disconnect from the truck and take off. Okay, because we're going to leave this trailer connected to the vehicle as we do this, because the vehicle will hold it in place. Now, what we want to do is first start at the hitch. There's different types of hitches, lock and roll, max coupler, all those different types, but they're considered articulating hitches, meaning they can rotate 360 degrees around and around and around. So we want to go give that an inspection, right? Look around the welds, look around the connection points, check the pin. Don't remove it, but check the pin. If you see the welds, paint cracking or chipping off of it, we may have a structure issue, right? So keep an eye on that, inspect it, make sure all of that is in good working order, because we don't want to ride it and it come down hard and then it break and disconnect and go down the hill and we lose all our beer, right? Beer is important, overland. Now, once we've inspected that, we can go through. Now's a good time just to do a visual inspection of the trailer. Anything that is on the inside, now that we have it secured, that we're worried about, our wine glasses, our coffee maker, our cappuccino maker, we can pull that stuff out so that we don't damage it when we bring it down, right? A lighter trailer, recovering it is easier than a heavier trailer. So the more weight we can kind of take out of it, the better. Now, once we are ready to start working through the process of riding this trailer, right? There's some things to take into consideration. It's not as simple as just hooking up a winch and pulling this trailer over. Because once it reaches the tipping point, then it's just gonna fall, right? We want a slow, controlled descent. Some situations you may have multiple winches that you can do that with. Some situations you may be by yourself. Yesterday we did a self-recovery, but today we have just a friend's vehicle that we're going to use, but we're still going to belay the trailer down slowly and comfortably so we don't do any more damage. The first thing we want to do is make a good connection to the trailer, right? What I've done here is I've actually wrapped a strap around the top of the trailer, okay? What we're looking for is to go over the side of the trailer and hook as close to the ground as we can, because as we're pulling, we want a twisting motion, lifting and twisting that trailer over. If I was to just hook on the side or the bottom, there's a good chance we're gonna drag that trailer, maybe do more damage to it, right? So we wanna hook and get that twisting motion. Who here's ever bitten into a Swiss cake roll and seen the little squiggles of the frosting in there? That's what we're looking for with our strap to pull it up and over. So we can make that first connection. And now this becomes a live line, right? Let's say somebody falls asleep in that Jeep, pushes the clutch in and it rolls down a hill. This is gonna go tight. Let's say the trailer starts rolling further down the hill. This is gonna go tight, right? So with live lines, when we cross them, we step on them, okay? That way if it goes tight, it's gonna throw me, but I'm gonna tuck and roll and somebody will laugh about it on YouTube one day. But if I cross over it and it goes tight, my name's not Michael anymore, right? I got another name. So step on it with synthetic winch line, you are not gonna hurt it. Normally I see climbers and they're like, he's stepping on a rope. It's okay, you're not gonna hurt the fibers of the synthetic winch line. Notice too about how I've got my strap going over rather than just running my winch line over the trailer. The strap disperses the load a little bit because it's wider, but it's also a little bit more durable as it wraps around. I don't want to catch my synthetic winch line on sharp edges and such. The strap is definitely much cheaper to replace than my synthetic winch line if I have to, okay? The next connection I have to make is right here. Now, I don't have an anchor point, right? Normally on the East Coast, we got trees everywhere, but out here we don't have an anchor point, so I'm using a pull pal. The benefit to that is I can put the anchor point where I want it, right? So I can move it around and get my angles and lines exactly where I need it so that everything's nice and tight, close to where I want it. The loads are moving in the directions that I want it. The big thing about the pull pal here, they have different capacities, okay? This particular one's rated to 14,000 pounds. They have a smaller one that's 7,500. They have a bigger one for bigger vehicles. But when we pull, it's gonna pull down on it and this plow will start digging in, okay? It works great in soft sand areas like the beach, but if you've ever watched the movie The Tremors, right, when the little monsters go through the ground and they cut that furrow, if you're on the beach and you have a hard pull, this thing's gonna go subterranean, right? It's gonna disappear from view. So it's a good thing to do if you're in soft soil. Put the eye of a strap right here and just let it go out the back. That way when it disappears, you can just pop it right out of the ground, right? You just pop it right out. So we're gonna make our connection point here. We're gonna use a bow shackle here because we have sharp edges. Remember with bow shackles, we tighten them and we back off a quarter to a half turn. And we can't use soft shackles on sharp edges. So soft shackle there, bow shackle here, okay? The next step is, for us, if you guys want to kind of work your way around this side, we're gonna make our connection here with our belay system. So again, sharp recovery point, using a bow shackle. Back off that quarter to half turn. Normally, I would not want to put a side load on a bow shackle like that, right? Or a recovery point. But again, we're not dealing with a whole lot of weight. Probably, you know, somewhere between 500 to 800 pounds rolling this over. And especially once I take the load and let it down nice and smooth, then we don't have to worry about shock loading anything. Connecting my strap here, I'm using a soft shackle. Then this neat little tool here is what we call an X-Lock. So an X-Lock is by a company called Safe Extract. This is multiple uses. Looks kind of like a Rescue 8 from the rescue industry. You can use it to belay vehicles down, things like that. You can also use it to shorten winch line if you need to, because no knots are needed. How you use it, so get a little slack in your rope. 2 ears, right? You got the bunny ears. Notice this has a hole in the center. So you take the bunny ears and you feed them through the X-Lock. One side goes over one side of ears, the other side goes over the other side of ears, and just pull it tight, okay? Now, on the back side, notice we have no rope crossing rope. So as we're using this to belay, we have no issues of rope on rope friction, but if I don't do a good job and I let this thing go too fast, there will be a lot of friction on the X-Lock, so it can build up heat. So we have to be cognizant of that. Remember, two downsides synthetic winch line is heat and sharp edges. We're ready to do the recovery, right? So I'm gonna have Steven kind of manage the pull pal for just the start of it, but the great thing is I have someone in a vehicle that I can give signals to. I don't have to talk verbally, but I can give hand signals, right? Winch in, do lasso up in the air, winch out, lasso down on the ground. Think about put it in the helicopter, put it out of the helicopter, right? Or if I just wanted fine tuning, I can do bump in or bump out, okay? Now, if I have to, I can tell him stop or stop all, shut the vehicle down and lock it down. Because I don't want him doing this in park, right? Pulling against that parking call. Notice also I've had him turn the tires in this direction because I don't want to pull sideways on the tires and do any damage to the knuckle or anything like that. We always turn the tires the direction of wind, okay? So I've got him set up in there. He's gonna manage the winch. He's got the vehicle running, okay? The other important part is having somebody in this vehicle to hold brake. When the trailer, if for some reason it slams down, it could shock load that park pole and break it loose, right? And now we're gonna lose a vehicle and a trailer. So have that vehicle secured any way that you can. Hopefully someone in there, foot on brake, and they could be in neutral, right? Or they could be in park as long as it's not hard against that parking pole. If you don't know what the parking pole is, how many people have gotten in their vehicle on a hill on the road, hold it out of park and you get that clunk? That's your parking pole. That's resting against that, right? That holds your vehicles in place. They will break, especially after we get our big heavy vehicles. We're not overlanders, right? We're overloaders. We carry all that heavy stuff. So, all right, so we're ready now to start putting a little bit of tension on this. So what I'm gonna do is just kind of stand to the side here, okay? I'm managing this and letting the person in the vehicle go by hand signals. Steven's managing my pull pal. If I was worried about safety, okay, I'm gonna have everybody way back over there in real world scenario with heavy loads. We don't have a heavy load today. But most importantly, we don't want anybody in this, what we call the triangle of death, right? In between where this pulley block is pointing. It's gonna receive the most load, so if something fails, it will be that pulley block. And that means it's coming this way. The only person that should be close to the scenario are the people in the vehicles and the person running the recovery. But I am missing one thing here. What is it? What's one piece of kit I have not added yet? You got it right, yes, sir. What's that? Line dampeners, right? So you notice I have not put line dampeners on my line. Reason being is I don't teach using line dampeners anymore for safety. They are a hope and a prayer. If it's steel cable, that line dampener becomes a flag in the air. If it is synthetic winch line, it breaks in a straight line so fast it will shoot through that dampener. chances are it's not going to knock it to the ground fast enough. Another reason is, where's this line going to break? I don't know, right? Is it going to break down there or in the middle or over there? So where do I put a dampener? I don't want to put 6 of them out. What I do use them for is, if I am in a crowded area, I will put them up on the line so people see a recovery is going on. I teach the 3 P's of recovery. Proper planning, we plan this recovery out. Proper rigging, meaning we rig this correctly with proper rigging all the way through, and proper gear. All the ratings of my gear are proper for the loads I'm experiencing. Every piece of kit through here is rated to more than that winch is. So before any of my gear fails, that winch will stall, right? So therefore, when that winch is getting to that point, all my gear will be safe. We should have no failure in that scenario. All right, so we see we've already started picking up the trailer. You're good, Steven. So once we start picking up that trailer, before we get too much weight on it, I want to double check my rigging while it's tight. I want to go through and check all my connections, starting at the winch, working the whole way through, okay? Because we want to make sure, again, that that rigging, now that it's been under motion a little bit, is proper, okay? Once we go through that, we are in a good realm to start actually doing the recovery. But what I want to make sure of is I've got a little bit of slack right here to let the trailer go before this catches. So what I can do is, to make that happen, just want to limit as much of that friction as I can. Are we safe, Steven? Let's kind of, if we can, step that group back just a little bit right there, just in case. Or, Steven, they can move inside closer that way. All right, are we good this time, Steven? Out a little bit more slack. All right, so now the winch no longer has the load. I have the load, right? So we can see that I can move a little bit, let it out, but I want to do it slow. Number one, again, I don't want to shock load the truck, but I don't want to build up too much friction here on my X-Lock. Now, so notice, got my gloves on and I'm not going to pass this around, but you can kind of see where this guy is shiny now. The shiny sections where the ropes went through, right? That's from heat buildup, okay? Main thing is once you're done, you need to get this guy off your rope as soon as possible because he's hot. I can feel it through my gloves. We don't want it to sit on a spot on that rope and create a weak spot or melt it. So get it out, toss it to the side. Now we can start kind of managing what we've worked through, double checking the trailer, making sure and breaking everything down.